Hey, what's up guys, I'm your host Nero, and today I have for you guys the unboxing of the 2021 M1 iPad Pro. Removing the lid, you're immediately faced with the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And as much as I want to just rip that plastic off, we're going to have to put that to the side for a second just to see what else is in the package. So underneath we have a little bit of paperwork with, of course, the Apple stickers. And underneath that, we actually have a charging cable and 20-watt fast charging brick. So while Apple was removing the brick from the iPhones, they didn't remove it from the iPad Pro series. Which makes sense because it is a Pro device. It wouldn't make sense if it only came with a cable. We can finally get back to what we're really here for, to watch the iPad Pro get unboxed. So here we have in all our shiny glory the iPad Pro, and immediately out the box I've already put some fingerprints on the front, but we'll just pretend like they don't exist. Now while this thing turns on, let's just put that to the side because we also have the Apple Pencil and the Smart Folio keyboard to unbox. Now this was my first time unboxing an Apple Pencil. I'd never even watched an unboxing being done before, so I was really going into this blind, but there really weren't any surprises. You can just slide the pencil right out. Remove the paperwork, and right underneath there you have your pencil. We also then have the Smart Folio keyboard. Now I actively chose this keyboard instead of the Magic Keyboard, and I'll get more into that in the later part of this video. Now looking back at the iPad that we set down earlier, the power is now on and we can go ahead and set up the iPad. So in this part of the video, I want to talk about a few things. So first off, why did I want to get an iPad, as well as the reasons why I bought this specific model of the iPad. And I also want to talk about why it was the most confusing Apple purchase that I've made in my entire life. Now the reason why I wanted to buy an iPad is the reason why most people buy iPads. The ability to draw, and more important for me, the ability to write on the iPad. I wanted to change my note-taking process from involving a notebook and a Mac to just having the iPad. And now there are a few advantages to doing that, namely that it's much easier to edit what you've written and a lot easier to reorganize the order in which things are written, both of which are things you cannot do if you're writing on a physical notebook. But I also wanted a device that was powerful enough that it could reasonably replace my current Mac. That's why I needed the Pro version of the iPad, but not just a regular version of the iPad. But at the same time, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro was significantly more expensive than the 11-inch iPad Pro and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro that came before it. So this meant that if I got the iPad Pro, the Apple Pencil, and a keyboard, it would be around the same price as buying a MacBook Pro. Not just any MacBook Pro, a MacBook Pro that had the same M1 processor, has more RAM, and the same storage. Now this was very confusing for me. I've been using a Mac for a very long time now. I'm very used to the gestures, I'm very used to the controls, and I'm very used to the shortcuts. So switching to an iPad is a significant change. But if they're both the same price, I wasn't 100% sure if the iPad offered enough things for me to justify switching from buying a Mac to buying an iPad. So this got me thinking maybe I should buy the MacBook Pro instead, because I'm used to its controls, I know how to use it very well. The performance is most likely better on the MacBook Pro than the iPad. The only thing I'm really missing out on is the ability to draw and write, but I can just use notebooks and paper for that, so it's not the biggest deal that I'm missing out on. But at the same time, I'm currently using a 2016 MacBook Pro. So is it really making sense for me to upgrade to a 2021 M1 MacBook Pro? Sure, the M1 MacBook Pros have better performance and better battery life, but literally everything else about the two laptops is identical. And to top it off, I haven't really had that many issues of battery life or performance with my current MacBook Pro. So does it really make sense for me to spend another $2,000+ to just buy a laptop that I already have, but is kind of beefed up a bit more? I'm not really sure. But in this entire process, I still kept coming back to wanting to try the iPad. While the iPad, sure, on paper is very similar in terms of specs and price to the MacBook Pro, it still has the ability to write and draw notes and all of that. I've never experienced that on an iPad before, so maybe it's worth me jumping over from a Mac. Now you guys might be wondering, well, if the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is too expensive, then why don't you just downgrade to the 11-inch iPad Pro? Because you can get an 11-inch iPad Pro, the Apple Pencil, and the Smart Folio keyboard for the same price as buying just the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Now, that is a very valid statement, and for people that don't care about the size of the iPad, that is a perfect solution. The 11-inch iPad Pro is known for its portability, but everyone that has reviewed it has said that it is not the best when it comes to multitasking. For that, you just simply need the bigger screen real estate of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And now that applies a lot to me because I want to be using this iPad Pro as a note-taking machine. I need to be able to use it to take notes while having enough space to display any other content that I need to refer while taking these notes. So the 11-inch iPad Pro would simply be too small for the use case that I'm after. The 12.9-inch had to be the iPad I take. And that's where this entire dilemma happened, because the only iPad Pro that was really applicable to me was the 12.9-inch iPad Pro that came out this year. And to be completely honest with you, I don't have an answer to my little dilemma that was happening in my head. Does it make more sense to buy an M1 MacBook Pro than to buy an iPad Pro? Does it make more sense to upgrade from a 2016 MacBook Pro to the M1 MacBook Pro or to the M1 iPad Pro? I don't have the answers. But this is just an impressions video. I've just got my hands on the iPad. It's been less than a day. So when I do my full review, I'll post another video talking about whether or not I think the iPad was worth upgrading from the 2016 MacBook Pro or not. So if you do want to find out whether or not I think the iPad Pro is worth it, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the video when it comes out. Now, I do also have a lot of other videos that I'm planning on. We need to talk about dbrand skins and Apple ecosystems, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out when those come out. And now, if you also have any questions, thoughts, or things that you want to see in future videos or about the iPad Pro in its full review, then please be sure to leave that down in the comment section below. I read all comments, I reply to a lot of them. So if you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, or questions, leave them down there and I'll engage with you guys. So if you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, or questions, please be sure to leave them down in the comment section and I'll get to them when I get a chance. But anyway, that's all for this time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys down in the comment section or in the next video. And until next time, have a great life.